Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the mighty Gluestick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore full-time and have a collection of hundreds of monster ecology and strategy videos on my channel. If you like what I do, please consider backing me on Patreon and subscribing to me here as I upload at least twice a week, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you can get these videos as soon as I upload them. So let's take the Usher from 3.5 edition Monster Manual 5 and then take the Foul Spawn from 4th edition Monster Manual and update them to 5th edition and call them the Star Spawn. They are not brand new monsters to Dungeons & Dragons, and yes, they are certainly, there's lots of conflicts with the lore behind these stat blocks, but the whole point of these creatures and their inclusion in the game is a demonstration of how groups of creatures can work together to form much more challenging encounters. So they train Dungeon Masters on how to run games for high-level player characters. One of the chief complaints is that there's not enough high-level game, or that the system breaks down at high level, when in actual fact you really just need to change your playstyle. First, let's take a brief look at the origins of these monsters with 3.5 edition's Usher, who are simply presented as a race of creatures with a weird set of traits. They are nomadic, but prefer to stick together and combine their talents to overcome any threat in their way. Quoting directly from the Monster Manual 5, it says, "The Usher are a strange race whose members gain increased strength, speed, or arcane power when exposed to different stimuli. The simplest Usher grow tougher and stronger as they take damage in combat. Their bodies undergo a powerful physical change, granting them superior prowess as their skin toughens to the strength of metal armor. Other Usher grow faster in response to injury, their limbs becoming longer and more flexible. The leaders of the Usher are powerful spellcasters whose magic increases in potency each time it is used." So the least powerful of them are the Lashermoy and Turlemoy, who are both reasonably cowardly humanoids that are typically bullied into working for the more aggressive and nasty bosses. In the case of the Ushermoy, the Hadramoy are vicious sadists who rely on stealth and speed to overcome their foes and terrorize the lesser Ushermoy into fighting to the death for them, while the Archamoy, sorcerers, serve as the masterminds and leaders of their race. All of these creatures gain power and transform through a specific means. In the Archamoy, their spells gain strength and potency the more magical power they release, so they charge up with cantrips like Ray of Frost and Mind Sliver, then cast Mage Armor and Mirror Image, and then unleash Burning Hands and Melf's Acid Arrow at a much higher spell save difficulty class. The Hadramoy are thin and fast, with their arms below the elbow splitting into 2 forearms and hands, and as they take damage in combat, they become increasingly elastic and speedy, to the point that they can move at a dash and still deliver 4 dagger attacks each round. The Lashermoy are gaunt and kind of wretched, but look very feral, with ragged hair and long claws sprouting from their fingers. Hulking, skinless Turtlemoy grow stronger and more resistant to damage the more hurt they get, so they'll actually beat themselves with clubs and rocks before combat is engaged. And particularly with the Lashermoy, they get a perverted masochistic thrill out of getting maimed, so the closer they get to death from their injuries, the less able they are to stop fighting. Now, jumping forward to 4th edition and the Foul Spawn, instead of a simply monstrous race of humanoids, the Foul Spawn are not a race of humanoids at all. They are mutants who are created by other Foul Spawn exposing victims to the alien energies of the Far Realm. Most die from this, but those few who don't join their ranks, transformed into horrid monsters who hate the natural world. The Archamoy become the Foul Spawn Seer, the Hadramoy become the Foul Spawn Mangler, the Lashermoy become the Foul Spawn Gru, and the Turlemoy become the Foul Spawn Hulk, with a new addition, the Foul Spawn Berserker, which better fit the soldier category to round out the combat mechanics for the 4th edition of the game. While the Ushermoy have almost no lore associated with their origins or the purpose of their activities, the Foul Spawn were reskinned into Far Realm mutated aberrations that rove around in packs and are drawn to serve powerful aberrant creatures such as aboleths, beholders, and mind flayers. Now, jumping forward to our current edition, we have the Star Spawn. Let's take a closer look at them and their lore, shall we? Settle back, get yourself a beverage. This is going to get deeply nerdy, and it's quite a long video, this one. 5th edition has taken the 2 previous versions and crafted them into something better, I'm happy to say. In my videos on Dungeons & Dragons cosmology, the multiverse, the nature of the planes of existence, the muddled relationship between the supernatural powers of super beings, gods, and primal entities, and the way they've reshaped time and space many times over, there is plenty of room to fit things that have slipped through the cracks of the known. The Dungeons & Dragons multiverse is packed with mysteries and secrets because that's how we like it. People often comment about how many evil and disastrously bad things there are in the D&D multiverse and the world settings created for the game, but when it comes down to it, come on. This is what the game is all about. This is the way we design it. There are things we pick and choose from when we want to add some danger and challenge to our stories at the game table. They don't have to all be used at once. They don't actually have to make complete sense all of the time. When it comes to things that don't make a lot of sense, the elder evils of the multiverse are prime suspects. I've talked about H.P. Lovecraft on this channel before, and he certainly contributed to what the elder evils are, but they encompass all sorts of mystical themes, lots of different tales. They represent fears and secrets and phobias. They are the really strange and horrible things we fear may be out there, beyond, into the endless darkness of infinite space, the vast void, the unknown. There are some very juicy quotes in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, such as, "The cultists who blaspheme reality by calling out to elder evils often speak of the far realm from which these entities hail. In truth, there is no one place or space from which they come. There is the multiverse of things there are, and there is the multiverse of things that shouldn't be." That's a great quote. Things that were left behind when whole timelines were remade, when more ancient and more bizarre universes winked out of existence and something that should no longer be real somehow lingered on. The creatures known as Starspawn are the heralds, servants, foot soldiers and lieutenants of the elder evils, capable of taking on forms that can journey to the material plane. They arrive most often in the wake of a comet, or perhaps such a phenomenon merely signals that the Starspawn are in the vicinity and available for communication. When the signs are right, warlocks and cultists hasten to gather together, read aloud their blasphemous texts, and conduct the mind-searing rituals that guide the blazing Starspawn into the world. There are any number of ways that Starspawn can arrive on your D&D world, whatever setting or homebrew creation that you're using. The point is, these things come from outside, and I think the intention here is that they're supposed to come from space. If you are running a world that integrates Spelljammer and the Crystal Spheres, then these things can still come from space within a sphere. The description of Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes says that there may be entities that ride in a comet, arriving when the signs are right, signaling to cultists down in the world that hailing frequencies are open and they are ready to beam down if the right incantations and rituals are performed. Horrible, profane, debased, sick, vile and evil rituals are pretty much mandatory. I've touched many times on why there exist a lot of cultists in the D&D worlds. The population, as many have lamented, is set upon by all manner of monstrous threats from all sides. The gods dole out their mercy to the devout and the worthy. The arcane arts are guarded secrets fraught with peril, and martial power takes a life of dedicated training and not a small amount of personal risk. So where does that leave everyone else? Well, for every beneficial bit of hidden knowledge out there to be discovered, there are 5 bits of very promising, seemingly easy to grasp, quite alluring and addictive lore that is all too easy for anybody to access and gain some supernatural power. The arcane academies, secret factions, and the clergy all work tirelessly to hunt down these false trails and eradicate or lock them away. But, well, cults are widespread and evil creeps into the lives of ordinary, scared, desperate and morally questionable people all the time. Charismatic con artists and charlatans don't have the luxury of Sunday morning TV shows to bilk out money of the gullible in the D&D worlds, so they make do with smaller gatherings that rarely operate openly in society. Cults. At the end of this video, I'll talk about the specific special gifts described in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, which you can feel free to give to your non-player character cultists in your campaign, representing the most tangible power that they've gained from their devotion to some elder evil. I once read that the only difference between a cult and a religion is that in the cult, the leader is still alive. That doesn't apply to D&D though, which is another widespread and popular source of fiction. One I consider to be demonstrably less dangerous, I might add, knowing full well that what I have to look forward to in the comments section over the months and years to come, which will invariably prove my point with a painfully ironic twist, but I'll not shy away from the perfectly accurate metaphor just to kowtow to cultists. When the Starspawn arrive on the material plane, there is any number of ways you can spin this tale in your campaign. Do they land with a crystalline shooting star that breaks open and releases a mewling mass of flesh, fangs, eyes, and tentacles which undulates and shrieks in forbidden languages, birthing a small army of forms more suited to the prime material world it has found itself on? Do the cultists themselves form the living gateway, the foul corruption of their flesh splitting open, bubbling and mutating, pouring out rotting parasites as something unclean and incredibly ancient, alien and evil, transform them into emissaries of an elder being? Do they enact terrible tortures on innocent victims and use them to construct a living gateway, with horrid starspawn pushing their way through a portal curtained with the living entrails of mutilated people and animals all woven together? Who knows how long the cults have been active, or how deep their corruption has permeated whatever population they are in. But what I'm saying is that when the player characters stumble on the scene of the crime, the summoning ritual or the remains of it, there should be zero doubts in the players' minds that the characters will want to murder every damn one of these sick bastards for what they have done. Starspawn are heralds of doom. They are not summoned by nice people who are just a little misguided. What is worse is that these cultists have used their dark powers to gain every advantage they can in their society. So they are the wealthy, the influential. They may well be the top merchants, the owners of land, the very law itself. If the player characters fail to deal with them, these cultists can hide the robes and daggers and make life very unpleasant and very short for these characters using corrupt but official means in the blink of an eye. Once the Starspawn arrive, we have the familiar template from earlier editions, further refined and well integrated, designed to work together. Always we start with the Starspawn Grue, the toadies, the foot soldiers, the expendable mooks and grunts of the invasion force. Mordenkainen describes them as fanged and lipless, ever-grinning, madly staring Grue, loping about on spindly legs and long arms. Bristles and spines project from odd patches of its pallid skin, and its long fingers end in broken and dirty nails. Grues are the weakest of the Starspawn. A host of writhing, scrambling Grues typically accompanies more powerful Starspawn. Their constant chittering and shrieking produces discordant psychic energy that disrupts thought patterns in other creatures. Intelligent creatures experience flashing colours, hallucinations, disorientation, and waves of hopelessness when they find themselves near a group of Starspawn Grues. I personally like to use a demented cackling when playing the role of Grues as a dungeon master. They are very much like evil clowns, small aberrations who are constantly delighted at the most vile and depraved things. Like the rest of the Starspawn, they detest the natural world and simply want to spread as much madness, horror, and confusion into it as they possibly can. The Grue are really just along for the ride. They're not the thinkers and planners. They find the prime material plane pretty confusing, really, as it's so totally unlike the natural environment that they are used to, and they feel quite cut off from the thrumming psychic thunder of the elder entity they normally roil around in agonizing ecstasy. Grues simply swarm over targets, and I highly recommend using the mob combat rule on page 250 of the Dungeon Master's Guide to deal with them. Read it, learn it, master it, and you will never shy away from masses of toady minion monsters again. And you'll also understand exactly why towns can mount very effective defences, even against dragons and such, thanks to sheer numbers. Individual Grues are only a challenge rating 1/4 creatures with an armor class of 11, 5d6 hit points and a strength of 6, dexterity of 13, speed of 30 feet, very average to low stats otherwise, dark vision to 60 feet, which is common to all of the Starspawn, and a single bite attack, +3 to hit one target for 2d4 plus 1 piercing damage, which is quite formidable really. But they also have a debilitating aura of madness, where creatures within 20 feet of the Grue that aren't aberrations have disadvantage on all saving throws, as well as on attack rolls against creatures other than Starspawn Grue. This means that even the cultists who summon these things are completely vulnerable to them, and this aura is highly beneficial to any other aberrations who are near or within the pack of Grue. Also, the bite of the Grue forces a victim to make a DC 10 wisdom saving throw, or attack rolls against the victim all have advantage until the start of the Grue's next turn, thanks to its psychic properties. The Grues themselves are totally immune to any psychic damage themselves and communicate with each other and other Starspawn masters using vile deep speech, the language of the deepest underdark and the most wretched of the elder things. Next in the pecking order, and working really well with this mob combat rules, we have the Starspawn Hulk, who are best used in the midst of a crowd of swarming Grues, but may also be encountered as the bodyguard enforcer goons for the Starspawn Seers. The Hulks are large, with the proportions of an ogre, except with glistening, translucent skin which makes them appear like their body is just raw muscle, sinew, bone and organs exposed to the air. There's not a shred of fat on them, and their pale eyes glare balefully from a face that seems to have too many teeth and not enough nose, like some sort of a huge mutant gorilla person with the body flayed of all skin, constantly ready to smash anything that gets in its way or threatens its seer master into a broken mess. The Hulk takes a dramatic jump up the challenge rating of 10 and has an armor class of 16 and 13d10 plus 65 with an average of 136 hit points, speed of 30 feet, strength of 20, constitution of 21, but all other stats are fairly low with an intelligence of 7. They rely on their masters to tell them what to do, or rather, what to break or not break. They make 2 slam attacks per round, each is plus 9 to hit, with a long-armed reach of 10 feet, doing 2d8 plus 5 bludgeoning damage. If both slams hit the same target, that target also takes 2d8 psychic damage and must succeed on a DC 17 Constitution saving throw or be stunned until the target's next turn. Not the Hulk's next turn. The Hulk also has a special attack. It recharges once used by rolling 5 or 6 on a 6-sided die at the start of its turn. This Reaping Arms attack is a devastating flurry of blows against every creature within 10-foot reach of its arms and fists. Any creature hit by a slam attack must make a DC 17 dexterity saving throw or be knocked prone by the ferocious punch. One last and very important feature of the Hulk is that it acts as a psychic mirror or reflector, so that any psychic damage directed at it simply rebounds and automatically hits every creature within 10 feet of it instead. As we know, this is harmless to the Starspawn group. In fact, all of the Starspawn are immune to psychic damage, so this ability is absolutely taken advantage of by them to rebound damage off the Hulks as they wade into combat with any group of opponents. The Hulks cannot be charmed or frightened, they can't be detected by magic, and their thoughts and location are effectively concealed from supernatural detection, and they are resistant, taking half damage from all non-magical physical attacks. They are formidable goons. Starspawn Seers are described much as I mentioned. They are more of a parasitic and transformative alien emissary that reflects and infects and mutates the cult leader. Mordenkainen states that a Starspawn Seer is most often encountered as the leader of a cult that worships one or more of the elder evils. Usually the Seer is the only cult member that grasps the full extent of the horror the cult is venerating. Others are just there because they're blackmailed or they're just addicted to the power and the wealth, etc. An entity that appears as a Starspawn Seer in the material plane usually arrives as something different, something disembodied. When a warlock or other spellcaster establishes communication with it, the Seer entity takes control of the mortal's form and spirit, transforming it totally into a Starspawn Seer. Whoever the Seer once was largely vanishes beneath the corpulent bulk of tumorous skin that builds up in strange whorls all over the Seer's body. Hands become bulky, flipper-like appendages, capable of grasping their strange staffs, formed of some kind of blend of flesh, bone and star stuff, but clumsy and painful when used to manipulate other things. They basically keep the appearance of all of the Starspawn so that you can keep reusing your miniatures from 3.5 edition, 4th edition, and now 5th edition. They basically look the same. A Starspawn Seer is almost always accompanied by one or more Starspawn Hulks. Although the Hulk is a worthy combatant in its own right, it's also a vital part of a tactic often used by Seers. When a Seer deals psychic damage to a Hulk, the Hulk isn't hurt, while the effect ricochets off the Hulk and expands to assault other creatures, and this is definitely something you should master. The Seer's goal is to tap the energy sources and master the rites that will enable it to extend a bridge between the vulnerable sanity of the material plane and the squirming madness of an elder evil's prison. So if they get their way, they will destroy the world. These monsters are extremely intelligent, with a wisdom of 19 and an intelligence of 22. All of their stats are above human average, and they have an armor class of 17, 18 D9 plus 72, with an average of 153 hit points and a speed of 30 feet. They have a formidable suite of abilities. They are immune to being charmed and frightened, or harmed by psychic effects. They are resistant to cold and all non-magical physical attacks. They have the ability to shift out of phase with reality and move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. Each creature it moves through takes 1d10 psychic damage. No creature can take this damage more than once per turn, however. The Seer takes a 1d10 force damage if it ends its turn inside an object, so they can walk through walls or through player characters. Anytime they are damaged, or should I say, would be hit by an attack, the Seer can instead teleport once per round as its reaction, exchanging position with another starspawn it can see within 60 feet of itself. The teleported starspawn will now occupy the space the Seer just left and be immediately hit by the damage intended for the Seer instead. This is a very familiar type of move to anyone who played 4th edition. It's an awesome tactical move, particularly when you combine that with the handy nearby starspawn Hulk, who is now probably adjacent to the rogue who just tried to sneak attack the Seer. They also have a special rechargeable power. This one recharges once used, only with a roll of 6 on a 6-sided die at the start of the Seer's turn. With this ability, the Seer warps space around a creature it can see within 30 feet of it. The creature must make a DC 19 Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the target, along with any equipment it is wearing or carrying, is magically teleported up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space the Seer can see, and all other creatures within 10 feet of the target's original space take 6d12 psychic damage. On a successful save, the target takes 3d12 psychic damage. Now, if the Seer is within range of the psychic damage reflecting Starspawn Hulk, they will always attempt to place the target right within that 10-foot range of the Hulk, or to double whammy what that psychic damage does and seriously hurt the teleporting victim as well, as hit every non-Starspawn with that damage twice. As for the Seer's own damage dealing capacity, it relies completely on its weird staff. Mordenkainen's calls it a comet staff because the orb at the top of the staff glows when the Seer channels psychic power through it. It has 2 attacks per round. It can either strike with this comet staff or use it as a ranged attack. Both are plus 11 to hit. The range of the psychic orb it can fire is 120 feet, and it does 5d10 psychic damage straight up. In melee combat, this function of the staff is a versatile weapon for the Seer. One-handed, it does 1d6 plus 6 bludgeoning damage. Two-handed, it does 1d8 plus 6. Plus, in both cases, it unleashes 4d8 psychic damage, and the target must succeed on a DC 19 Constitution saving throw or be incapacitated until the end of the next turn. Keep in mind that the Seer will most likely also have one or the other Elder Evil blessings that I'll talk about at the end of this video. And during combat, they will want to keep mobile, keep away from melee attackers, and keep up with those ranged orb attacks and teleporting around, doing as much damage as possible. Now, I'm not going to talk about the Starspawn Lava Mage in this video. They deserve a video all of their own, and feel free to exchange the Starspawn Seer for one of these creatures. Personally, I think they just got grouped into this category because they really are, well, they're specifically tied to a particular Elder Evils and don't work that well with the Starspawn Hulks. But the next Starspawn probably work with them just fine. Starspawn Manglers are those shifty, sadistic, multi-armed assassins who run out who round out the combat roles for these creatures. Mordenkainen describes the Mangler as a low-slung, creeping horror with multiple gangling arms. The Mangler most often has 6 arms, but one can have any number from 4 to 8, which is actually a change up from the previous editions. Manglers creep along the ground or the walls, sticking to shadows, hiding in spots that seem too shallow or well lit to conceal anything. They appear smaller than their true size thanks to their hunched posture and emaciated frame. Cultists summon these creatures to serve as guards and assassins, 2 roles at which they excel. They are a step between the challenge rating of the Gru and the Hulk, with a CR of 5, armor class of 14, 13d8 plus 13 with an average of 71 hit points, and a greater speed with 40-foot movement on the ground or while climbing. They operate perfectly well by themselves, sent out to go and assassinate targets, or lurking in cultist shrines to leap out of nowhere and shiv interlopers with their filthy claws. They also work very well in concert with other Starspawn, thanks to their special ability to hide and potentially murder the Starspawn's opponents before the fight has even really started. Manglers are ninjas who have a dexterity of 18, plus 7 to stealth checks, and the ability, anytime they are in dim light or darkness, to take the hide action as a bonus action, and the ability to ambush any target that has not yet taken a turn on the first round of each combat encounter. Essentially, this grants the Mangler automatic advantage on the Mangler's attack rolls against it. Now, combine that with its rechargeable special attack, the Flurry of Claws, which once used must be recharged at the start of the Mangler's turn on a roll of 4, 5 or 6 on a 6-sided die. That's a pretty good odds. This grants them 6 claw attacks against one target, plus it can move either before or after those attacks as a bonus action without provoking any opportunity attacks from enemies as it leaves their melee range. Normally, the Mangler merely makes 2 claw attacks each round. These are +7 to hit and do 1d8 plus 4 slashing damage. And if the Mangler has advantage on the attack roll for whatever reason, the attack also inflicts 2d6 psychic damage. That's each claw attack. 6 of those attacks on one target right at the start of combat is more than likely to kill a single player character outright. But combine these abilities with the confounding bite of the Grooves, which grant combat advantage to attack rolls against victims, which automatically leaves them vulnerable to the extra psychic damage of the Mangler, and if need be, the Mangler can turn around and savage the Hulks with a Flurry of Claws with advantage and unleash an area effect of potentially 12d6 psychic damage, reflected from the Hulk because the Hulk is resistant to non-magical claw attacks of the Mangler anyway. The Starspawn Seers can also make great use of the stealthy Manglers, teleporting them around the battle area to make the most use of them. Okay, last but not least, as promised, let's take a look at all of the Elder Evil blessings listed in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, and I quote, "Through generations of study and grim practice, the disciples of each Elder Evils have mastered the ability to bestow supernatural gifts on minions they select for the privilege. Any creature that serves a cult of Elder Evil, including a Starspawn, can be given one of these rewards, usually as compensation for faithful service, but sometimes as a chance for a creature that breached the cult's laws to redeem itself. The following powers are unique to specific cults, and typically a creature has no more than one of them, but the Starspawn may actually have more than one. Also, the cult leaders may have more than one. Cult of Borum of the Lake of Boiling Mud. Borum's Embrace can be used once per day. The cultist touches one creature within 5 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity saving throw or be coated in sticky, steaming, burning hot mud. While coated in this way, the target's speed is halved. It can't use reactions. It takes 3d6 fire damage at the start of each of its turns. The effect lasts for 1 minute until the cultist is incapacitated or dies, or until the target is immersed in water or any other liquid that will cool and wash off this mud. Cult of Trochus, the World-Born Dead. Check out the video on that one. Gaze of Corruption recharges on a roll of 6 on a 1d6. The cultist targets one creature it can see within 30 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or take 3d10 necrotic damage and be poisoned for 1 minute. The poisoned target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. Cult of Hask, the Voice of Hargit. Hask's presence can be used once per day. The cultist transforms into a tiny, leech-like being and teleports onto the shoulder of a humanoid that it can see within 30 feet of it. The target humanoid must succeed on a DC 15 Charisma saving throw or be charmed by the cultists. While the target is charmed, the cultist has control of it on the target's next turn. At the end of that turn, the cultist teleports to an unoccupied space it can see within 30 feet of it and returns to normal form. The cultist can't be targeted directly by any attack or other effect while it's in its slug-like form, but it is subject to area effect damages and attacks as per normal. So basically it turns into a little illithid slug. Cult of Tyrannothraxus, the Flamed One. Radiant flames, usable once per day. Multi-hued flame surrounds the cultist for 1 minute until the cultist is incapacitated or dies, or until the cultist extinguishes the flame, just as a free action. While inflamed, the cultist has telepathy with a range of 30 feet. It can teleport as a bonus action up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. In addition, every creature that starts its turn within 5 feet of the cultist must make a DC 15 dexterity saving throw, taking 3d10 radiant damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. So These ones, basically the names of the Elder Evils don't really matter, and it gives you a decent sort of grab bag of different abilities that you can apply, or gives you some idea of how you can reskin those to whatever sort of Elder Evil that you want to incorporate into your game. Cult of Tharizdun, the Chained God. Tharizdun's Spark recharges on a 1d6 at the start of the creature's turn. As a bonus action, the cultist touches a simple or martial weapon, or a natural weapon if it has one. The next creature hit by the touched weapon must succeed on a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw or experience short-term madness for 10 minutes. Consult the short-term madness table in Chapter 8 of the Dungeon Master's Guide to determine the form of the madness. The affected creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each minute, ending the effect on itself and on a success. That's quite debilitating. A diverse range of additional powers, and really the whole category of creatures is fairly well organised and well designed, I have to say. They have been a very effective way of training Dungeon Masters on how to think about the synergies between the various powers, traits and abilities of different creatures, working together to create more challenging encounters. With the Starspawn, they can be a challenging encounter at any level of play in the campaign, from low-level characters encountering a few grooves, all the way through to very high levels where they're encountering a significant squad of these things, utilising all of the abilities in concert together to devastate opponents. All you have to do is mix, match, and play them pretty smart as long as the Seer is around. Please hit the like button if you made it this far. Subscribe if you like what I do. Check out my Patreon for some exclusive content and all the full scripts for these videos. Buy some merchandise, wear your geek with pride, and as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.